ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it.
And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. Ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. It's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it.
It's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it.
And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. Ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma.
It's a ticket, ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket.
It'd be nice if I added myself. Welcome to another episode of Head to Head with Brian Parker. I am he. And we are back for another week. Thank you for joining us on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook Live. We also show on Roku as well as Amazon Fire TV. Now, listen, y'all. I ain't gonna lie to you. Amazon Fire don't make it easy to get on there. You got to go to Fire TV on your desktop a lot of times. Go under apps and search for Empower. But if you do, and you are that resilient, you will find the Empower app. Once you select that app, then you can assign it to your Fire TV device. That's the way that you do it. I thought all you had to do was go through your Fire TV device on your TV and search for it under search. Does not come up that way. You literally have to go through Fire TV, pull up the app on that and add it to the Fire TV app. But once you do, you money and you are tuned in not only to Head to Head Sports, which had its last show yesterday for the NFL season, but also a slew of feature films, podcasts, and things of that nature. So stay tuned. Let's bring in our wonderful panel. Oh, looks like I'm missing one. He'll be here, I'm sure. But for right now, we have Ms. Lori Parker. How you doing, Lori?
I'm doing well. Happy Friday Eve to everyone.
Happy Friday Eve.
Friday Eve. That's a new
thing.
All right.
Yeah, that's the thing. Mr. CJ Jones, how you doing, sir?
Hello.
You good?
Oh, yes. I'm in the house. Good to go.
Well, since I don't have the franchise right now, I pretty much sure I don't have to ask if this guy is doing okay. Because his team just won the Super Bowl. Mr. Brad Collins, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on? How y'all doing?
We're doing good, man.
Congratulations.
That was a couple of days ago. I'm past it. I moved on, I mean,
y'all just had the parade. I mean, maybe after the parade, then it's time to start talking about next season. But you can breathe it in 6 months. I was telling Randall yesterday that we started Head to Head Sports back in August, and we ran every week, including the playoffs, all the way through. That's a 6 month stretch. So you can celebrate for more than just a day. I mean, that was the chip. You guys won the
I'm
chip.
just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm still bathing in it, right?
Oh, okay.
Bro, it's difficult, man. It's hard to run that gauntlet. It's hard running that gauntlet to get through 3 playoff games and a Super. Man, listen, it's hard. My heart can't take it, man. It's not fun.
And I'm gonna tell you, Brad, I cannot remember a playoff from beginning to end where it was just, edge of your seat the entire time, especially towards the end of the game. Like one play here, one play there, either way, and the game is in the balance. I mean, as just a fan of the sport, even though I have my team, man, I got my money's worth this season for real. So it was a great season. This time, last year I was telling Randall, hey, we were celebrating the fact that the NFL finished on time because they had it where they had double headers on Monday night. They had Tuesday night games. They had games on Wednesday. That was the first time ever that they had a football game on every single day of the week at some point in time. Yeah, it never happened before because of COVID. This year, they were able to get through without rescheduling any games and moving games and moving this team, moving that team and everything else. So kudos to the NFL. to manage a 53-man active roster, practice squad players, cheerleaders, personnel, coaches, assistant coaches, position coaches, everything else to basically be able to manage that without having to reschedule your season. Major League Baseball, are you watching this? Hockey, are you watching this? So this is absolutely amazing. So I give them kudos. And I think the best team won, even though there were some questionable calls, but there were questionable calls on both sides because Jalen Ramsey got tugged in the head. So, I don't want to hear that crap about it was scripted. Okay. Odell Beckham Jr., great job. Proved that Baker Mayfield is the problem. So, we'll go into all of that. And then the halftime show. I mean, NFL, thank you. You got it right finally. There's always
all right. Halftime show was all right.
I mean, what would have made it better?
I mean, I didn't think the stage or the setup was that great. I don't want to nitpick. It was fine. It was great. It was awesome.
The setting, awesome. You know what?
The setting and the stage wasn't cool. And I would have had 50 there instead of I would have had Puffy there instead of 50. I thought Mary and Puffy's collaboration was far better than
the
50's.
The sudden resurrection of Tupac would have did it for me.
So you would need a hologram. You would need a hologram unless you like them QAnon people that believe JFK.
But no. I was expecting something like that, like to have it, because like our technology and everything, that would have been really nice to have like
they could have did a hologram.
You know what?
California Love.
I kind of like what you smoking.
Yeah.
Because if they would have done California Love and had Tupac do that hologram version, that would have done it. Right.
That would have, And I'm not a Pac fan, but something like that, something that people weren't expecting, it would have blew it up, I thought. I think.
I'm with you. See, actually, every now and then, CJ, you come up with something that makes some sense. Okay, I can see that one. That was actually good. California. Yeah, especially because you're in Inglewood. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that would have represented. Yeah. But, I mean, it's funny because you got to think when you're trying to plan a show for the biggest show in the world, everybody's watching. It's incredibly hard. It's impossible to make everybody happy because a lot of people that went to school during the same time I did, they loved it because it kind of reconnected them to like the 90s and stuff. Mary J, Eminem, Dre, all those kind of songs that kind of beat and everything. But then there's going to be some people like, well, why ain't you have Kenny Chesney? Why ain't you have a little bit of rock and roll? Why ain't you have this? I'm like, well, okay, listen.
No,
they went with a theme. They went with a theme, but see, that's them people that like it to be both sides when you including hip hop and rap. But if it was full on country, they wouldn't have been saying, "Hey, why y'all ain't have Wiz Khalifa up there?" They wouldn't have said nothing about that. Why you ain't got Florida Georgia Line and then the Kid Capri as the DJ? They wouldn't have said no mess like that. No. It would have been one way. But when it's this, then now all of a sudden, well, why didn't you balance it out with a little bit of rock and country?
Have they ever had a country halftime show? I don't recall.
Didn't Garth Brooks and Shania
I don't remember.
Wait, I was about to say
Billy Clarkson or something like that. Maybe
I was about to say it was pop in country, and then the closest was Adam Levine and Beyonce.
I remember Adam Levine because he took his shirt off.
Right.
Because he took his shirt off, and people was like, "Okay, if Adam can take his shirt off, then why y'all have a problem when women sit there and wear scantily clothing?"
Right.
Because Tucker Carlson and Charlie Kirk don't seem to have a problem with Adam Levine taking his shirt off, which make me wonder about them because then they critique this halftime show and say it was pornographic and shouldn't have even been on the air. And listen, Mary J had more clothes on than I would have liked, to be honest, because she was looking good.
Fully clothed.
Mary, but she was looking good.
Completely clothed.
MJB still got it.
And I still about fainted. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't see anything. I mean, but those are just buzzwords to the audience when they talk about, it was pornographic and it need to be pulled off. I'm like, dude, But you got to remember, these are the same dudes that got mad because Eminem decided that the girl Eminem couldn't wear no stilettos no more. She had to wear flats. So you gotta remember who says some of these things sometimes. But
you said Eminem.
The girl Eminem announced that the girl Eminem that wore the little wedges, the little green Eminem, she not gonna have the little wedges, stilettos no more. They're gonna put her in flats. And that was a problem for a lot on the right because you're desexualizing a piece of candy. I don't know if they sleep with M&Ms in their bed or what, but it put them in a whole different place.
Oh my God!
Oh yeah, it was a story for a couple of days on like Fox News.
I believe you. I'm just saying, like,
I'm just like,
to me, that's mind blowing.
Dude, it's an M&M. I mean, it ain't nothing the Jerkins can't fix for you.
Right, it's an animated character.
Yeah, just get you some Vaseline or some Jergens, and you'll be good.
And actually, Anthony Price had a comment saying that Mary had more clothes on than Janet Jackson. LOL.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
absolutely.
Mary had on more clothes than Shakira and J-Lo did a couple of Super Bowls ago.
Exactly.
And I'm not complaining how Shakira looked.
Nobody had a problem with
J-Lo's 50-year-old
and all that stuff. I mean, come on.
Good too. Yeah, all that was great.
Bruh, listen.
Wasn't pornographic at all. But
you always gonna have people flapping off at the gums just simply because it's us. Period.
But listen, these are the same people that their God Emperor talked about grabbing women by the genitals, had no problem at all about that. Right. All this time. Their God Emperor, 3 ex-wives, sleeping with porn stars while his wife was having their son, had no problem at all. Now all of a sudden they want to try to be moral again. Miss me, please.
Please.
But it's funny that their audience just soaks it up, does not sit there and hold the person saying that to the same standard as the people that they're speaking out against. Kind of like how all of a sudden now we find out that Donald Trump is sitting there hiding documents and everything else, and it's kind of funny. Hillary Clinton's putting out merchandise talking about but her emails and stuff like that as a nod to the fact that they were ready to lock her up for apparently mismanaging documents on her personal email server. And we're hearing that this fool flushing documents down the toilet and taking 15 boxes with him to Mar-a-Lago, and some of them got classified stamped on them.
Right.
And he's mismanaging files. Now, all of a sudden, this ain't no problem. But you dragged Hillary Clinton in for hearings for 11 hours trying to get to the bottom of that, and Benghazi and everything else. And he would go to rallies, and a cornerstone of his rallies would always be, lock her up, lock her up. Okay.
Well,
lock him up.
And also, there was an announcement that his financial documents, the firm that has his financial documents, have now said that they cannot be fully trusted. So, with his addition to him taking files, eating files, shoving them down the toilet, this again, it's a lot. And then also, speaking about the Super Bowl, we also have to talk about, or as commentary about Candace Owens, who has her own crazy following, but she is now being slammed for her liking the actual Super Bowl halftime presentation.
See, this is what happens when you black and you try to act like you ain't black. Every now and then, your blackness get ahead of you. So she started jamming and liking it and said, "Oh yeah, this is pretty good." And her followers reminded her, "Oh no, you're a grifter. You're a black person. And the only reason we like you is because you put down other black people. So know your role so you can get this check and you do what we tell you to do." And immediately she started backing off, talking about, "Well, I also liked Thursday Night Football and Thanksgiving when they had on some country singer." And, she tried to equivocate and everything like that so that her followers would know.
Backpedal.
Yeah, back. Oh man. Backpedal. She was moonwalking. She was Michael J out there.
There were two people at the beginning. One was the country singer,
Yes,
but then there was somebody else
and Janae Aiko, and they got them mixed up.
Who was the first one? I had never seen her before.
So
Oh.
Mickey
No, not
Guyton is
her.
a country.
No, it's Janae Aiko.
Janae Aiko.
Aiko, yes.
You never heard Janae Aiko?
She's done a lot of collaborations with some other artists like Big
Yeah.
Sean, some other people.
That one kind of threw me. I mean, she had a beautiful voice, but I was like, country
Have
singer?
you ever heard that song "Supposed to Be" by Omarion and Chris Brown?
No, bro.
I
No,
don't know if I ever
I'm not there.
I don't know.
I'm not gonna know
Okay.
any of that stuff.
I was
No.
gonna say she's kind of funny because she does a lot of rap, but and then what happened was she started singing, and people were like, "Oh, Janae, you can sing too."
Mm.
So she sings a lot too. So she has a really good voice. She's been on collabs with Sweetie and her and some of the other singers out there. So Janae's been around for a little while now, for a good minute. And then, of course, Mickey Guyton's a country music singer that happens to be African American. So they had her out
that's
there.
the one that I didn't. Yeah, she was a beautiful surprise to me because I had never heard of her at all.
Yeah,
But-
she did
but the
great.
first one, I was familiar with her.
But when they said that Mickey was going to sing, they had Janae on the screen, and as soon as they did it, I'm like, "Oh Lord,
okay.
here we go. We all look alike."
I didn't even catch that. Yeah, I didn't even catch that.
No, I did.
Hold on.
I
NBC got slammed because they made that, because I think it was an honest mistake, but again, it kind of goes into that narrative. Oh my gosh, they all look alike. It could happen to anybody. But so that happened. Mary sung Lift Every Voice and Sing. I see Eric.
I didn't catch that.
Yes, that was in the beginning.
Very beginning. Mary did Lift Every Voice and Sing outside of the stadium with an orchestra. That was interesting. Erica from Mary, she was slimmed down. She's looking good. I see you.
Didn't see it.
Man, she been looking that way.
Been looking that way.
Yes,
well,
sir.
now B done noticed, so it's totally different. CJ. Now B know.
You need to be following her on
No, I don't. No, I don't, because it started out as following and turned into stalking. I don't want to be about that.
No.
It's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope.
It is with me. 1 minute. That's what you be telling the police officer. I started out innocent, and next thing I know, I was in the bushes. So I don't know how I got there. Yeah,
I was caught up.
I was caught up in the moment.
Yeah, the judge has already told you to stay away. You know what I mean? Stay away.
I know the restraining order said 200 feet, but I figured I had give or take 10 feet. Okay. Anyway. Anyway.
Don't worry like that.
I'll just get it.
Don't worry like that.
You ain't got to worry about it.
Lock him up. Lock him up.
Lock him up. They ain't gonna never catch me. I got too many fake IDs and passports. But anyway, so we also over the weekend, man, I had a busy weekend because first I'm going to motorcycle training class, and then I had to go to a movie premiere. A film premiere that I'm in. There is a web series here in Charlotte that is going to be launching to the public, not just in Charlotte, but all over, because it's going to be on YouTube, called Hopeless Romantic Web Series. And it just kind of follows the lives of some close friends that happen to live in the Charlotte area. I got to play a nice little role in it. But the main cast will be here next week, including the creators and the writers of the actual web series. To show you a little bit of a taste about it, I got a little bit of a trailer. I'm going to play it, and then we'll talk back on the other side.
Don't got no heart, I got an icebox. Brand new rolling, swap out the G-Shock. Moving slowly, I know the street hype.
Well, what about you? Are you bringing anyone?
No, girl, please.
Why not, Chloe? It's been a minute since.
Listen, I'm just trying to live. I'm not looking for love like my friends, and because of that, they won't let me be great.
Perhaps you'd like to go out to dinner sometime.
Love is a waste of time if you ask me.
Don't worry about where I'm about to go. Let me tell you where you about to go. Get your ass out my car. And go get your shit out of my apartment by the time I get off work.
One minute you're happy, the next minute you're looking for a whole nother prospect. Like, you won't catch me being a hopeless romantic in these streets.
I've been meaning to tell y'all about my newbie, and we've already been on a couple dates, and he hasn't even tried to get physical with me yet. Okay, girl. Like, you know how a guy takes you on like 1 or 2 dates, then he starts thinking that you owe him some booty.
Getting all that tonight. All of it.
Yeah, but he's just been making some really out-of-pocket comments lately. Hey, Amir.
I was looking online and saw an event I want to take you to. It's called a Trap and Paint Party.
Trap and paint?
I typed in what black people like to do, and it popped up. What?
Can we get up? Should we just keep this up? Can we get up?
Lord.
Yeah.
Trap and paint. That's the best way to get to a black woman. Yeah, they're very interesting. So it's going to be a 9-episode series. We got to premiere the first 2 episodes, so they'll do the first episode next Thursday at 9 p.m. on YouTube. It is under Hopeless Romantic. So if you haven't already, go check it out. Subscribe to it. They've got a couple of trailers on their channel. Like I said, the one of the main characters is actually the creator. And then there were a couple of writers along with her as well. I thought the guy was white until he started talking. Oh, yeah, no, he's actually playing a Mediterranean guy, but he's got a lot of Spanish background. Yeah, I have a little bit of a role in it. Not that big, but I got a little bit of a role in it.
I was looking for you. I was actually looking for you.
I will actually be in the first 2 episodes, I believe, and then I'll be in a couple other episodes sprinkled out. They rented out the one of the theaters at Airsley Grand Cinema in Charlotte, and we even had a couple of radio personalities hosting the event. Janine Davis from V101 was actually in the house too, so that was pretty cool. Overall, very nice. Nicely done. Nice little spread. Thanks for the food. You know, that lobster deviled eggs was really, really good. I never had that. That was straight. So had a good time with that. And of course, rolled right. Lori liked it too, huh? Okay. And they liked your hair, Lori.
No, I couldn't. But
you know, I'm in the men's bathroom. Lori, I'm in the men's bathroom, and you know the code is that when we can't spread out between urinals, we don't talk to each other until we're done. You don't talk to another dude with your pants zipped down. But they couldn't resist themselves, Lori. They wanted to tell me how nice your hair was.
No,
so I know I'm violating man code, but her hair looks really good.
No. Actually, I could not stand away from your shine because you know it was about you, and you know you on the red carpet.
Girl, that was Vaseline. That's all it was.
No.
I look like a cue ball. It was Vaseline.
I was super proud of you. Super proud of what I saw.
You guys did take a beautiful picture. That was an awesome picture. Yeah. So I mean, and I'm your friend.
I'm all in Brian's shadow. It's all about him.
No. You can't tell by the picture. You guys look very loving and supporting of each other. Extremely professional. And as a friend,
well, I'm an actor. You know, I can play it off.
You know, I'm just saying that it was an awesome picture for real, guys. Straight up.
Thank you.
I tend to make her look better. You know, the closer I get to her, the better she looks. So,
Lori, when you put the knife in, you gotta twist it, right? You gotta damage multiple organs. You know what I mean?
And make sure you use the serrated. Okay.
See, now he really want me to die.
Yeah, okay. See, I'm just kidding. CJ giving you some tactical stuff.
Yeah. You know, the serrated one.
That's gonna get called in the court. I'm not messing with
damage it causes. The more you push it in. I got you. That's okay. I already
up and out.
I already plan on haunting you when I die anyway. So, and I still plan on doing the show when I die. Trust me. I'll make a couple ghosts.
As long as the show keeps going, man. You know the show must go on.
The show must go on. So, it just won't take me as long to get ready. That's all. Anyway, so we had a really good week, and then we rolled into Super Bowl. That was a great game, halftime, all that good stuff. So, Been really, really good with that. Have you guys heard the whole thing going on in the Olympics with the 15-year-old figure skater that tested positive for banned substance?
Yes.
Well, you know, karma is a mother because she messed up so bad today. She placed fourth and was out of the contention for gold. She was expected to win gold.
Of course.
There was a figure skater from Russia tested positive for a banned substance, and the Olympic committee decided to go ahead and let her continue to compete pending an investigation. If it was and if she won the gold, they would not have a medal ceremony because of the asterisk that would be beside everything. So everybody else that still is competing that hasn't popped positive can't do the same thing. If they play second and third, cannot stand on the stage and receive their medals and go through the ceremony because you got somebody next to you that may actually be positive. And Sha'Carri Richardson is like, what's the difference?
Exactly.
The only difference was, according to her, is that she was, because she was black, and then the woman from Russia is white, that there's a double standard.
And it's and I'm gonna add a little bit to that one too. Also, guys, I know what's going on overseas with Russia, and to me, I'm thinking it's a double whammy, double standard. Not only for the simple fact because she is of a fair skin complexion, but also they're trying to still bow down in a sense to Putin because she is Russian and all these other things. But we feeling it in the gas prices and everything else. So anyway, I don't want to go too far in that, but I just wanted to add to what my sister Lori just said.
No, you're absolutely right. And Anthony Price just said, she said she messed up her grandpa pills. This just shows she can't read. Now listen, Sha'Carri had a great.
Stop that bullshit. Stop that bullshit.
Well, I mean, you know what? Listening to the people that are reviewing the thing, they said, well, it had nothing to do with the race. We do these by a case-by-case basis. That's the first problem. Either you got a policy or you don't. Exactly. If you're doing it by case, now you're opening yourself up to criticism.
Exactly.
You know, back in the days when the NFL used to sit there and suspend players for testing positive for marijuana, it was automatic, 4 games. You show positive for marijuana when it's time to piss test. It didn't matter if you was Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, or somebody ain't nobody ever heard of. You're going to be out for 4 games. Now, I'm glad they got rid of that because it was absolutely ridiculous. There's no performance enhancing when you smoke marijuana. If anything, you probably fighting to stay away.
Slow your ass down. If anything.
Right. So Sha'Carri said, listen, I was smoking marijuana because my mom had just died and I was, under pressure. And whatever her reason was, she had a reason too, just like this white girl did. Exactly. Now, the white girl said that her stuff got mixed up with her grandpa's pills and she inadvertently took the wrong one.
What she took was a stem.
But whatever reason you got, you took something that actually is a performance enhancer because it helps you with your endurance. You're a figure skater, so endurance is something that you really need to perform your routine. And taking marijuana don't help you run faster.
Exactly.
But they weigh this by a case basis.
So I don't know. I haven't followed too much of the Winter Olympics, but is it the same committee? Is it the same folks, the same people who reviewed each case? I mean, come on now.
Yeah, absolutely.
That screams bullshit.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. That's what I said. So like they convinced me with all that bullshit about, oh, she's 15. Oh, she took her grandfather's medicine. I'm like, okay, first of all, 15 nowadays. The 15-year-olds today, they act like they're 30 years old now with reading, education, technology, all of that. So you can cry me a river about that. You get no sympathy. And then on top of that, you talking about a child that has been reared up in a professional sport that they treat them like little adults anyway. So even if they had sponsors and everything else, you still need to be facing those and dealing with those consequences thereof, just like anything else. Because let me put this out here for you guys. Had that been, had it been, how many of us 15-year-olds, boys and girls, have been treated and tried like an adult for things that's not even professional sports related? Okay. And Brian, to your point with what you were saying, in the military to this day, okay, in all of my years that I was active duty and everything, whether you're a reserve, whether you are doing what Brother Jermaine is doing right now, it is zero tolerance, period. And they don't care. They don't care what it is. They don't care if it's illicit drugs. They don't care if it's over the counter. You can take too much Motrin, and if you pop, that's it, bro. They don't care how many years you got. They don't care what your tenure is or none of that stuff. You are out. These are just consequences. And she gets no violin from me. I'm sorry. That's it.
No. Well, but see, they made themselves more of the story than they had to. If they had just simply suspended her like they did with Sha'Carri and showed the consistency, then it would have been easy peasy. But to simply say, we're going to let her compete while we investigate, but if she happens to win, we won't let anybody take the medal stand because we just don't know.
No, okay, and they just doing that because of Putin.
Well, it is, because your investigation wouldn't have finished until after the Olympics, when everything kind of blew over a little bit. And then if you said, oh, yeah, she was positive, everybody's back at home now and everything. So the attention has kind of gone away from it, because we know in the 24-hour news cycle, people normally move on to the next story. So you'd probably just put out that information on some late Friday night when ain't nobody paying attention, and then just kind of stuff it there and move on.
But this is why there's been a lot of controversies with the International Olympic Committee, IOC. Also, Anthony Price also made a comment saying that he doesn't know, because Michael Phelps was moving faster when he was smoking marijuana, because he did that in the Summer Olympics. But there's always been
that was just the way that his head was shaped. That's how he moved so fast.
It's the aerodynamics.
There's always been a controversy. Head shape or arm length or whatever. There's always been a controversy with the way that the IOC always looks at things and makes considerations. Now, maybe to your point, CJ, that they were, because of what's going on in Russia and in the Ukraine and the mobilization of troops, maybe they're giving him a pass, because, ultimately, if Russia does invade the Ukraine, it's going to create all of this havoc. But still, the IOC has always been controversial in their stance on many things, and they do give favor to athletes that have used banned substances. Because even if you're looking at past rulings that they've had with any other any type of Olympian that has either been from Russia or, they've given them more consideration. So it's just dealing more with the IOC.
They have given them cushion. I do remember that. There was like one or two that and it happened to be in Winter Olympics. It was one of the high ski jump. I call them the flyers. One of them had an issue. I do remember that, as you said it, but still, I mean, they still put him in suspension, though. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, given the history of Russia, given the history of Russia and banned substances, why does she get the benefit of the doubt? I mean, they've been convicted. They've been convicted. Weren't they told not to compete in the Olympics? Maybe it was the summertime. Like, come on, like this is their history. And we all know it. Sha'Carri was getting high. Big deal. If anything, that hurts her That's not a, it's not a performance.
Exactly.
I'm not trying to make an excuse for Sha'Carri. She was wrong.
Yeah.
She should have been, dealt with appropriately. But now, why are you giving this chick a breather? Why are you giving this young lady a breather?
And don't tell me because you scared Putin going in invade Ukraine.
He's going to invade Ukraine anyway. Right.
And the fact he's going to do it just simply because he's going to do it just simply because who we have in the president's seat right now. Because remember, everything was chill when 45 was there, But then now that we have Biden sitting in the seat, now he's going to cut up. I'm not surprised with that. And why would we be surprised that Putin want to cut up now?
Well, the thing is, even though all of the pundits have an opinion on what the $1 million question is, what is really going on in Putin's head? Because is he being strategic? Is he just playing a game of chicken? Also in Europe, if he does invade Ukraine, that's going to affect, most of Europe. Some parts of Europe depend on Russia for their gas. So even though there has been an increase on our gas and oil production as well, but everyone's still trying to kind of figure out what is he trying to do. I mean, he's just trying to kind of sit there and flex his muscle. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I really feel like Putin will then face a whole bunch of sanctions and things that are already, because the Russian people are already hurting.
But you don't think he's already bracing for that, though, Lori? I mean, think about it.
No, because CJ, he doesn't get affected by that. Putin has money. First and foremost,
we don't have a shortage.
Oligarchs as well.
We don't have a shortage here in America. Our pipelines are fine. We can pump our own oil. That's the one thing I don't get, y'all. Man, trust me, take it from someone that have been out there and seen it. Because I was one of those ones that had to go protect those oil platforms. We don't have a shortage. And it pisses me off every time we get into these conflicts or rumors of conflicts. And the first thing they do is jack up our prices here in America. I have an issue with that.
But we don't produce enough oil to sustain the entire United States, and we also export as well.
No, that's what they tell you. Okay, all right. That's what they tell you.
Well, I mean, and it's the history of this country to kind of want to have their hands in everybody else's pot too.
It's all about the trade.
What you cooking over there? I'm going to eat what I'm eating. Then I want some of what you got too.
That's
you know what I mean? I want some of that oil that's under your land. I mean, that's
exactly. So I don't have to use
our history, right?
And there are global, but CJ, there are global things that we do share. We do export and import oil.
Right.
And then you got to realize that the cost of oil has less to do with how much is being produced as speculation on the prices of oil that comes out of the ground. The speculation is what drives the prices of the stock market. So when there's rumors that something's going to go on in Saudi Arabia, okay, is OPEC going to slow down oil production? When OPEC slows down oil production, it does eventually affect the United States. It will affect a lot more of the European countries, the third world countries, and them too. But there's a lot of things that when it affects things outside of our country, it will affect us. See, this is the problem. Trump had that same idea that you do, that we're America first. And if it don't happen inside our borders, then it doesn't affect us. We're not insulated that way. This country isn't built that way. There is a connection. That's why China owned a lot of our banknotes. If that was true, China calling them banknotes, we broke. We have a lot of things that we trade. So it's not just it's inside the country. We produce a lot of oil. We do produce a lot of oil. Some of that production is regulated. We can't push all that oil out because of regulations. The other thing that you said about the president defining whether Vladimir Putin is going to go into Ukraine, you're partially right. But the biggest issue was the fact that Donald Trump wasn't going to stand in Putin's way, meaning that the biggest thing is that I don't know if you remember in the 80s of the USSR, United Soviet Socialist Republic. then became Russia. That happened because countries like Croatia, Ukraine, Belarus, and some of those other countries in the USSR broke away from Russia, became their own states, so to speak. And Russia became a smaller country. Vladimir Putin wants, in some way in his deranged mind, to have the old days of the USSR back, the Soviets. Remember, they don't call them Soviets anymore. They call them Russians.
Mm-hmm.
That's because the country changed.
Russia.
Well, the problem is that Trump basically had an agreement with Putin that he wasn't going to push Ukraine to join NATO. Putin doesn't want Ukraine to ever be a part of NATO. And that's what he said in their talks is that, hey, I'll pull back, but they can never become a part of NATO. You know why? Because NATO has a treaty agreement that if anybody attacks a NATO ally, you attack France, the U.S. will be there. You attack Germany, the U.S. and France and all the other NATO allies will be in. We have a agreement that an attack against one of us is an attack against all of us. Well, if Ukraine becomes a part of NATO and they're under that treaty and Russia tries that mess like they did with Crimea a couple of years ago, guess what happens?
Then we will be
all have to go jump on Russia's ass because Ukraine is a part of NATO.
Right.
So he doesn't want Ukraine to ever become a part of NATO because then that means he will lose control over them. Then who's next? Crimea, Georgia, Belarus, Czechoslovakia, all those will start joining NATO so that if Putin does anything crazy, he can't invade certain areas and stuff like that because NATO will be all up in his ass. That's the reason. And
I think he's emboldened. He's emboldened because he's been cozying up to China lately.
Yes, absolutely.
He knows that the sanctions are coming. That's not a secret. It's not a surprise. That's what we've done the last 4 or 5 times. We've hit him hard. So this time around, he's got some bankroll behind him. China's saying, "Don't worry about that, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, we got you.
We'll back you. We got you. Right. Don't worry. Don't listen to what they're saying. We got you." Yeah, but when the USSR fell apart, it was because of their long gone war with Afghanistan that broke them. Their country was broke. They couldn't pay their soldiers. I mean, they were broke. And then these countries said, "Why are we hanging around? We get nothing from you. Why are we hanging around?" They separated, they broke, and they formed their own countries.
And the only thing they got from them is those horrible little cars. Remember the little cars that they had? The little cars that used to be breaking down. That's what they had.
Well, Laura, the thing is, Russia's GDP isn't even close to our GDP. The thing that makes Russia dangerous is the fact of how many nuclear warheads that they have. They really don't have any leverage from a financial standpoint. Their main source of income is oil and gas. Without that, they are a very poor economy. The problem is that you have all these oligarchs over there that siphon off all this money, and it's a select few oligarchs that control everything. The regular Russian don't have it like that. So they're already suffering. They're already suffering. Putin got money on top of money. He gonna be all right. And you're right. Xi Jinping in China is basically saying, "Hey, don't worry about that. I know they threatened to cut off the pipeline. They're gonna probably make it where their NATO allies can't trade with you in dollars and stuff like that, and really gonna jack up your economy. They're really trying to push some heavier sanctions than they ever have as a deterrent. They have to put their foot down because if they let him take Ukraine like that, then there's going to be a lot of other countries over there that are pretty much going to end up in the same position." But it's funny how much. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, but they did have a report that I think it was in the Ukraine that they had their national day where it just seems like when they were talking to people from the Ukraine in the capital of Kiev or Kyiv, I know I'm not saying it correctly.
If you're Russian, it's Kyiv. If everybody else is Kiev. But go ahead.
So no, it's okay. Thank you for letting me know. Like I said, I didn't want to pronounce it incorrectly. But they were just like, they just don't seem that bothered. Like, even though the president is sounding the alarm about the pending invasion and all of this other stuff and building up of the armies on their border, the common folks from Ukraine are just kind of like,
Yeah.
Well, they're over it because they've been dealing with this for 8 years now. Russia has already invaded part of them before and used the guys that there were separatists and things like that they had to take care of. He's looking for another reason to jump in there again. Whatever reason will do. But you got to remember, they're acting like that as well, because the more alarm, if Zelensky does more alarm, then people may start leaving, and it'll affect their economy. Putin is winning anyway, whether he invades or not. Just the simple fact that they're there is messing with their economy, because I mean, what happens when
cyber attacks as well?
Oil prices go up. Hell, what happens when somebody says there's a hurricane? Everybody runs to the grocery store and buys up everything.
Exactly.
So
And that's what I was saying.
something happening, even without something happening, he's winning because the economy is being affected somewhat. So he's trying to calm down people so that they don't get overly crazy. So he's like, why are y'all leaving the embassies? Why are y'all doing this? People see that happening. Now they're going to get even more afraid. So even though he's probably crapping on himself, he can't really show that, because then it won't, he's trying to make everybody feel okay with what's going on. Look, guys, they just doing some exercises. They're not going to come over. Just keep on with your regular life. Do what you always been doing and that kind of thing. So he's being a politician, right? He's having to look at the long game and say, if I show any sign of weakness, that's going to make me look bad as a leader too.
Well, Anthony had a question where he's saying, is Putin starting a war that he can't win? And I'll throw this out to the panel.
They normally do.
No, I think he can absolutely win this war. If it is a war, it wouldn't be a war. It would just be an invasion. I mean, Ukraine could defend itself for 2 weeks tops. And I mean, you know, they're training civilians in the woods. Like, nah, they can't. I don't think they could defend themselves beyond 2 weeks. I mean, I think they could take the capital and get rid of the government within 72 hours, probably.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So honestly, he could win the war, but what is he going to win in the long term?
And it's honestly, it's what he determines as winning. Right. If his goal is to destabilize their economy and basically suck them into being a Russia and what he's trying to do is topple over that government, install Russian-friendly people into a government, turning over a dutifully elected government to establish your own set of electors. Where have I heard that?
Is that an inspection?
Sounds familiar. Sounds familiar, doesn't
it? It sounds like January 6th. I mean, I'm just spitballing.
Yes, he does. And he's kind of trying to do the same thing. He's trying to get people that would be more pro-Russia into the Ukrainian government. Because think about it. You get pro-Russian people in the Ukrainian government, they're not going to go along with the whole thing about NATO. That's his end game, is that if I get people that's sensitive to Russia's policies and motives, I don't have to worry about them joining Ukraine, meaning that I have more countries under my grasp to control. Every time somebody joins NATO, that's one less country I can mess with, because I know that if I come for them with that much smoke, they're going to come back to me. And he doesn't want to mess with NATO that way. That's why he keeps pushing they can't be part of NATO. Well, you don't get to decide what a sovereign country gets to do. Oh, okay, then. Well, we'll just not make them sovereign anymore.
Right.
See, that's how you fix it. Not I'll just go away and you right. We let them do them and we do us, but we just won't let them be sovereign anymore. We'll put pro-Russian friendly people in there and we'll still end up with the same result. That's winning for him. And the longer he messes with their economy, if the citizens of Ukraine start to feel like their government is not working for them, they could be toppled from the inside out. You just sit there. It's like sitting a match, sitting a can of gasoline. You back away and you watch the fire. You didn't strike the match. You just provided everything needed to start the fire. And
man,
that's what he's doing.
You sound just like somebody that just left office. Because I mean, he didn't do anything directly, but he just gave it the push. And just watched it grow.
Yeah, he just gave it a gentle push. Yeah, and that's all you have to do when there's already unrest. You don't have to do a lot to sit there and light the fire. I mean, all you got to do in California is let it get dry, let there be excessive heat, and you just provided an opportunity for wildfires to cause a whole lot of damage just by making sure that the conditions are conducive to a fire to be starting anyway.
And of course, not sweeping. If you don't sweep, and you know,
if you don't sweep the forest,
yes, you have to sweep the forest. I forgot. We should need to be sweeping the forest because we need to get up all the leaves.
I don't think I will ever be able to wrap my head around how we sunk that damn low to listen to an idiot talk about sweeping forests, injecting bleach, all this other kind of stuff that you just think about, using a Sharpie to change the trajectory of a hurricane, inquiring about sending a nuclear bomb into a hurricane.
Yeah.
Talking about Covfefe.
He watched a lot of
action investigations.
He watched too many Marvel comics.
Remember, he's huge.
It's our fault. It's our fault. Stop, Lord.
Woman, man, person, camera, TV. I did great. Nobody's ever seen anybody take a dementia test better than me. Man, I got laughs for days on this mug. I don't know how we ever sunk this low.
I do. And I'm gonna tell you how.
All right.
The average American loves to be entertained. That's it. And they were entertainment.
You know what, CJ? That's a good point. I used to watch. I don't know if y'all remember those airplane movies where just the stupid slapstick going back and forth. And no matter how many times I watched it, I got no enrichment out of it. It was just stupid funny. And I just watched it knowing how stupid it was going to be.
Stupid it was.
And
exactly.
It didn't
hilarious.
enhance my life at all. It was just hilarious.
We know it line by line. That's how much
I do. I know the stuff
line by
line. Exactly.
Yeah.
And the driest jokes. I mean, the word puns. I mean, everything. Roger.
Yeah. Hey, Joey. You ever been in a gymnasium with men? Just kind of crazy stuff.
Like, wow.
But you watch it, and you're just like, okay, this is not going to enhance my life. This is
why did we watch that?
But I'm watching it because it's so stupid. I used to watch Spaceballs for the same reason. I was like, this is over the top stupid. But that we knew to be fiction. What we saw for 4 years was real life. This was crazy, right? Like, there's a person that exists that really thinks like this. This is scary stuff. And people would
that's what he brought out.
Yeah, I've seen him on TV, so I want more of that every day.
That's anything. That's what, in my opinion, that's what he helped bring out. So I can appreciate that much. I try to look at the positive things sometimes whenever I see all this negativity. He really helped expose that we have a lot more mentally challenged people than what we realized that we had at first.
Yeah.
At first, because I always depicted them as being maybe that 0.1%. No, they actually got a pretty good foothold in the American population as far as just being out there thinkers, like left field thinkers. It's scary to know that you got just that many people just okay, that sounds good. Let's go with it.
Yeah. It's hilarious. So let's change gears. Did you guys see the story recently? I wasn't going to even bring this up till I saw it today or yesterday.
You're talking about the mall thing?
Damn.
Yeah. So I was wondering whether you were going to talk about that tonight. So, I mean, when you talk about the context of the Russian gymnast or skater or whatever the hell she was.
Oh, yeah.
And juxtapose that with Sha'Carri Richardson, how they treated her. They sat her down immediately, right? And the young Russian girl was like, well, we don't know. Let's let her compete. It's the same thing like what just happened in the mall, right? Like Sha'Carri was guilty from the beginning. The black kid on the floor getting beat up was guilty and needed cuffs from both officers.
Right. Like they didn't even act like the other white boy was there anymore once they separated him.
Right.
They both focused on the black kid to handcuff him.
Right.
And to hold him down with the knee.
Right.
Well, and I mean, no need to put that on my week.
When you see two people fighting, both need to be detained so you can figure out what happened. That didn't happen. They instantly went to the black kid that was on the bottom, pulled the white dude off of him, held him down, and handcuffed him.
Right.
Two Americas. I've been saying it for as long as I've been running Elephant Exposed.
And I'm sorry. There is no training. This is a mentality where when you look at the situation, it's a culture. When you look at a situation and you automatically assume, regardless if the black guy is in a more defensive position, he is still the threat.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to handcuff
That's
him
culture.
and detain him because he was
culture.
a threat, even though the white guy was on top of him, wailing on him.
Right.
Exactly.
He was still the threat.
If you see the long version of the video, the white guy at one point sits on the couch and he throws his hands like this, expecting to be handcuffed as well. And nothing. He got nothing. I think she even touched him on the shoulder. You know what I mean? She even touched him on the shoulder, almost to reassure him and to look around. Like he was no longer a concern. The fight was no longer a concern. She was looking around. It's the same thing that it's the threat is there. Even a person who's inebriated and drunk can barely walk, starts running away. That person deserves to be shot in the back for going away from you.
Because how dare you leave?
Right.
How dare you do something that I don't like?
Right.
Now I can execute lethal force against you. And if you're dead, you're dead. And I don't care if we got to sit there and my department has to pay the bills because the union is going to protect me from being personally liable.
Right. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with both of these officers. You know what I mean?
Apparently there's an investigation. Apparently.
I don't think they came in and said, I'm going to get this nigger and I don't think they did that. I think it's just that's America. That's who we are.
Right. That's the problem. They didn't go in with that, but because they didn't have to. It was already there.
Right.
It's always been there.
Right.
When they have to look at two situations, look at a situation and they see a black kid and a white kid, they see the black kid, no matter what position he's in, as the threat. Neutralize the threat is what they're taught. But they're not taught that the threat is automatically the black kid.
But it's implied
that's what they came to the department.
But it's always implied that whoever has the darker skin is the threat.
Is the threat, right?
But it's always implied. And see,
it's implied, but you're not going to find it in a training book. You're not going to find it in any SOP.
Right, exactly.
It's not going to be there. It's implied. It's implicit.
Right.
That is correct.
And it's really not only is it implied, but it's the enforcement of it. It's when they take those officers out on the road with their field training officers, and they begin to actually apply execute what it actually looks like in real life. And even though they may or may not be with it at first, they're pressurized into it. And because they are pressurized into it, then it becomes a part of their conditioning. So, and I'm talking about even officers of color. You even have black officers that has adapted to that culture that will be just as hard, if not hard, on black people and people of culture too. So it's not just the black and white thing. So yeah, I agree with all of that. I agree with all of that wholeheartedly. It is a cultural thing, and it's just like a illegal drug. We're gonna start you out with a little bit because you may not get, you may not be used to it, but then we're gonna, slowly and carefully, just kind of like gradually give you a little more, and that's the way that this culture is. Police culture is the same way. Eventually, you start, accepting it and not fighting it and stop resisting it. But because like guys, I'm telling y'all, since I've started my own show, specifically exposing cases like these, I have felt so discouraged because, you know, not a lot of people follow the show. Not a lot of people want to pay attention. Not a lot of people want to hear facts. That's not what they're interested in. They don't want to hear what we're talking about right now. And that's why I even titled the show Elephant Exposed, is to put people out there, show them what is going on. Yes, you can believe what your eyes are seeing, and you can do something about it. And right now, our cameras are our weapons. They are the best things to fight against things like this. Because when you make people look in the mirror, because nobody wants to look in that mirror and see something that they don't like. Think about it. When you walk in, the whole point of you even having a mirror in your house is for you to try to make yourself look better. Policing culture is the same way. They know they're dirty. They know they're ugly. And it's real easy for them to just discard it. And when you put that mirror in their face and you say, hey, look, this is you. Now what? Now they're going to want to have a tendency to clean up their act, even if it's fake. But at least you're making them being held accountable for what they got caught in. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go on that rant, but
sorry. I wanted to read two comments from Anthony. He says, I don't understand if someone said they can't breathe, why you still on his neck. That's crazy. Well, that's because when a black person says that, Anthony, that's not credible and valid. And then he also says, but do you think black people give other black people a bad name? We act like animals. Is education a problem, or the household not teaching the right way?
It's a combination of it all. If I understand you correctly, right, exactly. If I understand you correctly, it's a combination of it all, and definitely we have to take care of home first, because everything starts in the home, and then and with taking care of everything starts in the home comes the education, and then the outside education. But
I kind of want to put this particular thing in context.
But then again, now we have to send ourselves and our children out.
Yes, so I'm sorry, CJ, you were breaking up. I didn't know you were still talking. You froze up on us.
Go ahead.
No, I just kind of wanted to put the fight into context.
Oh, yeah.
It's my understanding.
I was just.
No, go ahead.
No, yeah, I was going to say, because like one of the boomerangs that they love to throw up in our faces is, oh, what about black on black? Well, all this stuff. Listen, all that's just a smoke screen. That's a red herring. There truly is no such thing as a black on black or white on white crime, and all those. People rob and people commit crimes according to the area that they're in. Period. And there's no such thing as a blue collar crime and a white collar crime. You have criminals, period, and they're going to do what they do, crime. So when we start breaking, and then another thing is that we don't pick up for ourselves enough for the way that we are depicted in social media as animals and different things like that. No other culture is degraded like us in that sense. No other culture is depicted as being overly aggressive, very violent, and even depicted as monkeys and different things like that. So all of those are subliminal suggestions, and like I said, they feed it to you young. So then by the time you hit our age, you could just, oh, they're animals, so that's an expected behavior. And that's what I mean by the education part. So you got to expose all of it. So that's what I say. It's a culmination of it all. That's all I had to say about it right now, B.
Okay. Yeah,
I think I'm sorry, Brian. I think I on this one issue, I agree with Candace Owens. I think our culture is broken. And that's something that we don't want to talk about. We never want to talk about it. It's always somebody else's fault, somebody else's issue. It's easily explainable. We need to take accountability for our own shit. Excuse my language. We need to take accountability for our own actions, the way we act, the way we interact with each other, the way we present and project ourselves to the world. Don't be surprised when the world comes back at us, because we send out that message and then the world comes back at us scared as hell, right? So our culture is broken, and it's been broken for the last 30 some odd years. So I definitely agree with Candace Owen on that one. I think she's crazy as hell on a lot of everything else, and financially motivated in a lot of her other issues. But I agree with her on that point. But we never want to address that issue of our culture and where we are and the decisions that we make.
True. Well, I mean, even crazy people can say the truth. The problem is that they'll put a lot of extra crap around the truth.
Right.
Exactly.
Because then it helps their grift. That's her issue. It's not that the stuff, everything she says is crazy. She's just a grifter. But in this particular fight, though, I was under the impression that what was happening was the white kid was bullying another kid, and the black kid stepped up for them.
That's right. Who was younger?
And that's how it started.
They're younger.
He was younger, right?
These kids are younger. So it was admirable that he stood up for the kids who were getting bullied. You know what I mean? He's the hero in this situation. And the cops came in and said, "You know what? I'll show you what I think of you being a hero and sticking up for somebody else. I'll teach you a real life lesson, an American life lesson."
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I said, two Americas, guys. It's two Americas. See, had he been white, then they would have threw him a ticker tape parade. This guy stood up in the face of bullied and and everything else, and would have had his name in banners and all this other stuff, but simply because he was black and because of police culture, and I must stress that, because of police culture, that's something that you cannot train out of anyone. Culture is what it is.
I'll go through some of the Ahmaud Arbery killer's text messages on the next show, because I can't do it in this show because it'll last till 8:30. But what I will point to a little bit is, again, the hypocrisy, the two Americas, as you put out, CJ, of even what's going on in Canada right now with truckers and everybody else blocking roads and stuff like that. And normally, and now Justin Trudeau, the prime minister, they're having to call a state of emergency so they can get rid of some of these people, because it's not the fact that they want to stop the protests, but they do want to stop the fact that they're blocking commerce and trade, which is causing companies on both sides of the border to lose millions and millions of dollars. It's one thing when you're doing a protest to bring awareness, but it's a whole nother thing when you're causing people's livelihoods to be affected by that. Car manufacturers are having to close plants because they don't have parts to work with. That is hurting trade on both sides. And we were already short on vehicles and things like that because of the semiconductors and things like that. So it's kind of funny, though, how when there was Occupy Wall Street, Black Lives Matter, all the other kind of social protests, hell, they got a law in Florida that says if there's a protest going on and there's people in the street, you can run over them and with impunity, nothing's going to happen to you. Now, all of a sudden, these truckers are folk heroes and everything else, and they standing with them, and the tyranny of Justin Trudeau to call a state of emergency and all that other kind of stuff. Hell, I'm old enough to remember that people were up in Washington, D.C. getting the hell gassed because Trump wanted to walk across the street with an upside down Bible. But it's kind of funny how they're seen different ways depending on what agenda it is you want to push.
Exactly. And that's my point.
Yeah, there's your two Americas right there.
That's
how crazy is that? Oh, man. I'm trying to think. There was one last thing that I had. Now I can't remember what in the world it was. Oh, man. Lori, you just distracted me with the hair. I can't remember what it was. Well, anyway, but we're at our time. So final thoughts, everybody. Lori, go.
Please wear your mask. And damn it, your vote matters. Damn it.
Oh, I know what it was now. I know what it was, but go ahead. Yes,
wear your mask and remember, and also please be aware of the upcoming elections that may be coming. I know here in North Carolina is a big issue about gerrymandering and the redistricting maps that they are being withdrawn. So please get to know your local candidates and make sure that you vote.
All right, Brad, final thoughts? I know you got to get out of here.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a final thought. I mean, go Rams. And, you know, it looks like we're finally coming up out of this variant, and it looks like we're really going to open up and go springboarding into spring and summer. So that's a good thing until the next variant.
Yeah, I got to talk about Eric Adams wanting to ban drill rap, but that's what I was trying to remember. But
that's interesting. Yeah, that's going to be real interesting. It's going to be interesting.
He's a character. He's really going to make everybody miss Bill de Blasio. I guarantee it.
Well,
no, not really.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting.
Not really.
You don't think so, Lord? Okay.
It's going to be interesting.
I think so. I think by the time it's said and done, y'all gonna be missing Billy Boy.
I think he needs to ruffle some feathers. I think he does.
So?
He needs to ruffle some feathers. Yeah,
I believe that too. But I think you do it, but don't go chasing up the wrong tree.
Some trees need to get shook. Because right now,
see, that's what they said about Trump. That's what scared me. Oh, we needed somebody to shake things up and burn it down and this and that. Okay, well he did that.
Mm-hmm.
Then somebody has to come in and clean it up. So you gotta be careful with that. I get it. Hey, CJ, final thoughts?
Just reflecting off of what we kind of like talked about like there towards the end. Even some of your most extreme conspiracies have a branch of truth in them. And so basically you eat the meat and you spit out the bones. That's how I look at it. So, you know, you take everything with a grain of salt, but then also try to listen for the truth, because even if someone is opposing you, you can at least appreciate their point of view, and maybe it can make your thoughts and stuff even stronger when it comes to you switching off and trading off your thoughts to make you a more clearer person when it comes to your thoughts and views. The other thing was this right here. I see a lot of people. I see a lot of videos in my news feed that talks about people violating their rights and different things like this. So I would want to say this to your viewers as well. Let's get to know our amendments, guys. It's more than just human rights and but then when you ask them, okay, well, what are your rights? And nobody can really say anything outside their first amendment right. And then they can only tell you just the one that they know. Let's get to know, let's educate ourselves and do more, stop doing all the barking and actually start educating yourself. And that way whenever you do come across situations, you know what you're talking about. And you can stand a surety in something without just saying, hey, I heard, I saw this off the internet. So educate yourselves, guys. And that's about it.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. My final thought is going to be this. You know, I don't know if you like me, but, you know, I love sports and I always root for my team and everything else. And it's so funny that, you know, some players just don't live up to your expectations. And unfortunately, there comes a time when you have to get rid of them and you send them to another team. And it seems like once you send them to another team, they play better than they played for you.
Always.
And I could never figure that out. I mean, I remember Larry Johnson, as good as he was when he went to New York, he was just different. I remember Alonzo Mourning, he came through, but when he went to Miami, he was different. You know, just all through the years, I would just be so disappointed and be like, why couldn't you have done that for us? We would have kept you. We would have loved you. We would have held on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it makes me now think about the journey of Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford was always the guy that never won a playoff game. Had a big arm out of the University of Georgia, threw for all these crazy yards. Right now sits at 49,995 yards. Fastest quarterback to 30,000. Fastest quarterback to 40,000. He'll be the fastest quarterback to 50,000. And in about another 13,000 yards, he'll pass one of the all-time greats in Dan Marino. But He sat there with that same team, as bad as they were year after year. He stuck it out with them, didn't put up a fight, didn't scrub his social media like one Kyler Murray did, and just rode it out with his team. He did everything he could to help that team win, and at the end, it still just wasn't good enough. So there was a change that was made last year where he was sent over to the Los Angeles Rams. And now he goes from the guy that couldn't win a playoff game to the guy that won 3 playoff games and ultimately the Super Bowl. So, Brian, why you bring that up? You know, sometimes as hard as we try, as hard as we beat our head against the wall, sometimes where we are isn't where we're meant to be. We give it our all. We do everything that we can. But change is sometimes inevitable. And it's sometimes something that you have to embrace, no matter how scary it's going to be. You have to sit there and be vulnerable enough to put yourself out there and be able to make those changes. Matthew Stafford did that and was rewarded with a Super Bowl championship. Now, everybody can't be a quarterback that makes millions and millions of dollars a year. But even in your personal lives, if you are banging your head against the wall, you're not getting farther in your career, sometimes it is time to make that change. What didn't work in that one place doesn't mean that if you go somewhere else, you won't be successful. Keep an open mind, and you know when it's time to go and be ready for that next challenge. I want to thank my panel, Ms. Lori Parker, CJ Jones, Brad Cawthon. Appreciate everybody for joining. We will see y'all again next week. Peace.
This a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it.